Hey guys, Coach Adam from TeamElitePhysique.com talking to you again today with another Pro Bikini review. Today we are going to go into the Dallas Pro that happened last weekend where the defending champion went from defending champion slipping to 5th place and Ashley Cutwasser taking 2nd place. So a lot of things happened at this show that were unexpected. I want to jump into the whys after talking to all the judges and getting feedback and kind of go into everything, because it's kind of definitely a shocker with, of course, anytime Ashley gets 2nd, it's going to be a shocker. And it is another shocker that Jordan finished in 5th, who I thought going into the show was going to be fighting for 1st and 2nd place with Ashley. So we're going to go into her physique, of course, too, which I love her physique. I love her look. And we're going to go into the what happened with the Ashley scenario, too. So different shows, and I wanted to wait on this one and get feedback from judges. I reviewed it with, obviously reviewed it with the judges, reviewed it with Tyler, Sandy, everyone, just going into, what kind of feedback that we're going to get from Ashley on this show and how, and why it went that way. And really for us, it was more, not so why it went that way, but is this the look that we need to be bringing to the Olympia? And that's the main concern for Ashley throughout these shows is going to be, okay, we're fine-tuning, we're trying to get the closer to the Olympia look, and I think at this show we actually nailed the Olympia look, really close to it. And some of the judges agree with us too, but here's the thing, there's going to be different scenarios for different shows, and this is what makes bikini really difficult. It's a very difficult thing, and I want to go into a couple scenarios on what happened and what's going to happen in future shows in bikini too. And I have examples here in these shows as well. Now, with this show, you'll notice Ashley is looking really, really full. This is probably the fullest Ashley's been. So she's been really full here, really full in Pittsburgh, and really full in Japan. And this is something that we've been playing with and trying to fill out and see how round and full we can get her going from show to show, just to see, okay, what are we going to do for the Olympia? Are we going to go with the full Ashley? Are we going to go with the more petite, more shredded Ashley? And we've been kind of playing with both of those looks. And different shows will have different scenarios. This show, though I loved her look and the judges loved her look, so to give you a kind of a rundown, Tyler, who's obviously head judge at the Olympia, vice president, he said he likes her looks best in Pittsburgh and in Japan, where she was fullest, and that's going to probably be the best look for the Olympia. But it's a different level of competition at the Olympia than when you're doing these other shows. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to go into some pictures here and show you these scenarios. Ashley looks really big in these shows in terms of her fullness, her muscle size. She looks jacked, right? Look at the pictures of Ashley here in these pictures, and she does dwarf the top 3. So here is the top 3 in competition. You have Ashley here in the middle, you have Kate, and you have Raina. And look at how muscular Ashley looks next to Kate and Raina, right? Now, traditionally, Ashley is the more petite and kind of falls more closer to like Raina's size, but Kate's a more petite physique, so she's a little bit smaller than Raina and a lot smaller than Ashley here. But Ashley would be just a little bit more downsized, maybe closer to Raina, but even maybe a little bit more muscular than Raina at like the big shows. But at this show, she is very powerful, not just in the front pose, but in the back pose. Now, going into this show as a coach, I'm thinking, okay, well, one, we're playing with looks. How are we going to go? We're going to go super full for Ashley and push it and try new things. And sometimes we'll try new things based on who's competing that day and whatnot too. Maybe we have a little bit more freedom with this show versus like a Pittsburgh show or Arnold level show where you're going to run into, the top competitors and there's just no room to try anything, if that makes sense. And that's, a lot of people will wonder, why does Ashley compete so much? Well, we're trying new things all the time, guys. Like we're trying different things all the time. We're having fun with it. Sometimes it is just fun with it too, but we're trying new things at a lot of these shows. And I think that's what people don't understand. And one thing I really give hats off to Ashley about is she's willing to try new things and push it and push her fullness and push the conditioning and push whatever it is to try new looks and get different feedback from judges and say, okay, what are we going to fine tune for the Olympia? We're just going to constantly fine tune. But in this show, she was a little, when we got feedback, a little too full. The judges said she's just kind of too full, and it's not just, it's based on who she's next to, looks really full. So this is the surprising thing. So going into this show, I thought Jordan would be, I mean, Jordan's a very formidable opponent. Not that I ever would look past anyone, but I did think Jordan would be the second place contender, maybe even battling it for first place with Ashley, because Jordan's a really, really impressive physique. Her lines, her structure, her beauty, her skin tone, everything is just like, I mean, it's really, really good. I've seen her in person, I want to say a couple times, but it's always been at like I saw her at the Olympia, and it's hard to really see how good someone is at the Olympia. There's 60 girls there, and I'm looking at Ashley and other competitors I had, but with her, seeing her in person live, I was like, just in a small show, I was really able to take her physique, and I was like, wow, this is a high level, really, really, really just beautiful physique that she has. Now, the thing is, with this show, she just came in too sharp. I mean, it was apparent right in her posing, right when she came out in the individuals. And I will say the lighting there, I think, didn't help her, but she was just really, really hard in this pose, when she came out. So that pretty much eliminated her. But if you could see here, and we'll go into her individuals, her hamstrings and her detail was just so lean. It was shredded lean. I mean, it's impressive, but it was too much for bikini, and really that's what hurt her. But if you look at her structurally, I mean, man, that is a crazy good structure. We'll go into her physique in a minute here, but that's what knocked her down. So it knocked her down, and then it ended up being Ashley, Reina, and Kate, and then Ashley stood out a lot more in that lineup of those three. Now, the other two were also pushing the conditioning. So, and that's the thing, when you're a little smaller, generally you're going to want to be a little leaner, because you don't want to be softer and smaller. You want to have more lines or more conditioning, kind of work off of that. So it was strategically for both Reina and Kate, definitely the right play there. When you're smaller, generally you want to come in more conditioned than a fuller, rounder athlete. Because if you're just the same conditioning as someone who's bigger than you and more balanced than you, then what do you have to compete against them with, right? So you push something where you can win, an angle where you can win, and that is a scenario that Reina and Kate pushed. And I do want to make one correction too. After judging, after the finals, I talked to the head judge, Richard, and he said, it was a close show. It was only 1 point. That was before, I guess, he saw the totals of the scorecard. I did a live video with Ashley going over the scores. I said it was 1 point. I don't want to look like I was a sore sport or anything. That was the information I was given at the time. The scores came out. I asked Richard about it, and he was like, oh, that was my mistake. I thought that it was 1 point, but it wasn't 1 point. So just so we're clear on that, I never want to look like I'm trying to say it was closer than it was or whatever, but that was the scenario there. I was just given the wrong information. So I want to correct that publicly, because that's something that's happened to me before, where someone said it was 1 point, and they never corrected it publicly because they got the wrong information. Judges are doing a whole bunch of things. I don't blame the judge for that at all. Just something that happened. I wanted to correct that. Now, and I want to go into like another show scenario where we talked about earlier this year to give you an example. So going into the show that I want to go into next. So remember this year earlier, the Wasatch Warrior, right? We talked about the Wasatch earlier this year, and we were like, man, that was a muscular show. That was a crazy muscular show. We had Brittany Hamilton, Allison Testu, and you had, Amy as well. So you had, these girls were very muscular competitors in this show. And I was like, man, they really leveled up the muscle. And I was talking about, you can go back and watch that video. And then I talked to the judges after it, and they said, hey, we got the first person, we got the winner correct, which I totally agree. They got the winner correct. Amy won that show. But you got to remember, that skews how muscular the other girls are going to be. When you have a lot of muscular girls and they're all good girls, then now you have to have that first lineup be all muscular to kind of, that's who you're picking from that day. It wasn't a petite bikini show. So at these smaller shows, you're going to run into some variance. So, and that's just, you haven't seen this muscular of a show since then. So that's the thing that you kind of run into, is that, you're going to have your more smaller shows that have, they kind of skew down, and Ashley can look big. Ashley would be, in this show, Ashley would look small next to like Brittany Hamilton, Allison Testu, right? She would look a little small. Now, the thing about Ashley is, obviously she has her goal of getting to 50 this year, but the real goal is to move up in the Olympia. That's the goal. That's the end of year goal. But if you look at Ashley in this last year's Olympia where she got third place, Ashley is doing great because of her balance and she has a more athletic look, but she does look small next to Jennifer and Maureen. She is the smallest in that like top 4 grouping. She's the smallest one. You have Laura Lee as the 4th, and Laura Lee's quite muscular as well, right? So what we're concerned with is, are we getting closer to that Olympia look? Win or lose, if you do 10 shows a year, you're going to lose 1 or 2, in bikini especially, 3 maybe. That's just, it doesn't matter who you are. Jennifer could do 10 shows and probably lose 2, 3 in bikini too. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just bikini has its variance, and at the smaller shows, they're going to be a lot more volatile than the big shows, because you're also running into variance of judging. Some judges prefer more conditioning. Some judges are newer judges. They're not Olympia level judges, and they haven't, trained their eye 100% for that high level show because they haven't been doing the high level show. So when you have athletes like Jennifer and Laura Lee and Maureen only competing at the Arnold level, Olympia level shows, how do the lower level judges even get that as a standard to compare to other shows? They're only seeing other level competitors, right? They're only seeing people who aren't doing those big shows, right? So that happens too. So there's going to be variance in bikini, and it is what it is, guys. That's just what it is. There's 68 bikini shows. You think we're going to get, Tyler and Sandy and all these like just Olympia level judges at all 68? There's just no way it's going to happen. So some judges will skew a little more lean. Some judges will skew a little more full. Some judges will have more experience. Some judges will have less experience. So you are going to have that variance from show to show. This judge, Richard here, he skewed towards conditioning. He liked the conditioning a little bit more. Ashley looked a little full. She kind of was the biggest there, and it just wasn't her day, and that's how it goes. Now, the key for us, and this is, I'm just pulling up Jennifer because it was the side-by-side that made sense. Obviously, she's the champion, and she is the standard for bikini. This is Ashley at the Dallas Pro. And look at how much fullness she has now to her glutes. It's getting very, very close to comparable now in terms of the fullness of the glutes. And before, she was getting a little bit dwarfed on the glute side. But now with this level of fullness and this level of fullness to her legs, it's becoming quite comparable. She's not going to be the small, dwarfed Ashley in that top 3. She's not going to stand out as looking smaller than the other 2, which she has historically in the last 3 years. She's been third place 3 years in a row, which is awesome. We would love to stay third place or higher. Third place, even just staying third would be awesome. But the reality is that if she's going to move up, she has to put on a little bit more size, take a little risk, and come in a little fuller. So for me, I'm really happy with this look. I think that it's probably close to the Olympia level look. Maybe a hair tighter. The Olympia level look. Maybe we can get her a little more full, a little more muscular come Olympia time. But we will see. That is going to be a tougher ask. So that's basically what our feedback was. A little too full. They skewed a little. Conditioning was on this one. So I also want to say, really, I got to meet. I've seen Kate at the Denver, where Ashley won with a perfect score in Denver, and then I got to see her and her husband, and then got to see her in Dallas. And man, those two are just such nice people. I really was so happy for them to win. It's like doing that as like a husband and wife, and them sharing that moment and getting to go to the Olympia and accomplishing that goal of going to the U.S. They did like 4 shows in the U.S. and this is their last chance to get it basically before the season was done, I think. And they got that they got that win. That was something that was a beautiful thing to see. Yes, I always want to win with Ashley, but when there's something like that where it's like a beautiful story, I'm a married man too, and I hope to get Kimber to the Olympia one day and share something like that too. So it was a bittersweet, that's for sure. And I really like the guy. I like her husband a lot. He sat with me. It's nice to see these stories. It's nice to see these stories. And for all of you out there, this is good for you to see too. You know what? Ashley is beatable. There are scenarios where you're going to be able to beat her. She's doing 10 shows a year. So people used to say, oh, she's taking all the Olympia qualifications. Never has she ever had a year that was a perfect season. There's always been those one-off shows, 2 shows a year, whatever. She is, beatable. Every bikini athlete is beatable. I think the first year Jennifer won, I think she lost that year in Tampa too, if I'm not correct. So like even the years people win, they the whole thing, they lose. They lose a small show. So it is what it is. It's bikini, guys. But I'm super happy. Kate looks great. Kate looks great. And we'll go into her physique on what she needs to work on to be more competitive, or to be competitive, I should say, at the Olympia. But really happy with her. And it was nice to see Reina too, as her first time seeing Reina, like kind of really being able to see her physique. And she really grew on me too. I was like, who is this girl? She is good. She's got some great glutes, great almond glutes, great tie-ins, great fullness. Needs to work on the balance a little bit. But let's go ahead and go into the physiques here. And that's kind of the story of the Dallas. So it's anyone's day in bikini, guys. It's anyone's day at any time. This is not bodybuilding. It is a lot different, and it's not going to be the same story like in bodybuilding. You have a Derek Lunsford going into a bodybuilding show. I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to beat him in a regular level show. You run into a lot. It's a lot different in bikini because there's too lean. There's opinions are there. There's a lot of subjectivity to it. This judge skews a little leaner. Some judges skew a little fuller. So it is what it is. So first physique I wanted to go into was Jordan. Gosh, she's so good, guys. She's really, really good. I mean, if you look at her physique, when we talk about her shoulders to waist to hip ratios, I mean, that's just awesome shoulder to waist to hip ratios. Now, she was too conditioned. Look at her hamstrings. Look at how detailed they are and how conditioned they are. I mean, you could even see like deep conditioning, like way down here in the tendon of the hamstrings. You can even see that. And that is just too much for bikini. It's unfortunate that happened at this show. I do think if Jordan was in that top 3 callback, because she is more closer to Ashley in size, it probably could have changed the whole show. Ashley wouldn't have looked so big if Jordan came in a little softer. And I do think it would have been between Ashley and Jordan in that scenario, because the skewing wouldn't have been so visual. You wouldn't have seen such a visual difference in that fullness. But you definitely did see that visual difference, because Jordan is, I would say, closer to the Olympia standard in terms of muscle than anyone else at the show, other than Ashley, of course, in terms of the balance, the fullness, the density. She's just too tight. It is what it is. She was just too tight, and she was too tight by a pretty far margin. I mean, visually, you could see that right when she came out. The striations in the glutes, the striations in the hamstrings, the shoulders were capped, like super capped densely. The striations in the shoulders were there. When she was transitioning, you'd see the glute striations. I mean, it was a very, very tight physique. It was definitely, it was visually tight. And I was sitting next to another competitor, an amateur competitor, and she was like, she's too tight, right? And I was like, yeah, she's way too tight. So when you're seeing NPC competitors are picking it up, in their, like, it was like her second show, you're too tight if they're picking it up. But man, what a good physique. So she'll be at the Olympia. No, I'm sure she'll get her Olympia qualifications. There's no doubt about it. Her lines are so good. Her everything, that's what we talked about. Just beautiful girl, great skin tone, great look, fitness model look. The only thing that I do see on her on this one, I mean, we can see how tight she is here. The only thing I think she really does need to work on is the projection of her glute. The actual roundness of her glute, like of how far it comes out, it does need more overall width and density. Like, it needs just more projection of her glute. And you could see little gaps sometimes in her front pose. You'll see gaps of that profile of the glute, especially at this upper outer edge of her glute. She just needs more, just more fullness to her glutes in general. Literally nothing else on her physique is a problem. Her conditioning was a problem. She needs a little bit more fullness to her glutes. But man, what a great physique. Very, very impressed with her physique. I was very impressed with her physique. I was taken back by it. I was like, whoa, this girl's good. So, and again, going into Reina now. Now, Reina has a really good physique. She's an Olympian. She's a high-level competitor. She's gotten Olympia before. I think she'll get the Olympia again. Her conditioning was in a good spot. She was a little tight, of course, but nothing where you would say it was too tight. This was like right at the limit. Now, she's getting close to that etched tie-in. Remember, we don't want an etched tie-in. She's very close to it, but it's right at that limit. I would say it's pushing the limits. Remember, when we talk about the standard being Jennifer and Maureen, or even if you want to go into another high-level competitor, you go into Amy. Look at her tie-ins, right? This is what the judges want to see. If you go back and look at like the Pittsburgh pictures of next to Amy, next to Ashley, both of them, not a full tie-in, right? These are the highest level people competing so far this year. Laura Lee too competed, and Laura Lee's another example. She doesn't have a full crispy tie-in, right? So, look at those pictures as your baselines, because that's what the high level judges want, right? Is that not a full tie-in, but they don't want a crispy etched tie-in. They just want they want to see signs of a tie-in. So here's your current champion, the current standard of bikini. Look at Jennifer does not have that full crispy tie-in. So this is why I thought Ashley's conditioning at this one was a good spot. But yeah, definitely a little full. So when we look back and we now look at Reyna, that is what you would call a full tie-in. It's getting close to being pretty crispy. So it's right at that limit. So just right at that limit. But again, smaller competitor, you might want to come in a little bit tighter. Strategically, it's going to be different show to show. Now, as far as Reyna from the front, crazy small waistline, really good, really round poppy glutes. The legs don't need any size. The density is great. The fullness is there. Pushing those quads, pushing those legs about as big as they can be in bikini. The problem that Reyna has is her upper to lower body is not balanced 100%. Her upper body is a little bit smaller than her lower body. Her lower body does take your eye. You know, the glute, the quads. It is a little bit off. And I honestly think her posing isn't helping her that much either. You could see this left shoulder's dipping, the right shoulder's a little higher. You're seeing the full arm in this pose. And I just think that it could be just fine-tuned a little bit to help her with her balance, her posing. We all saw, I want to give credit to Amy in her pose. She switched her pose at the New York pose, and it made a significant difference on her leg size, like giant difference on her leg size. So you can switch these things around to have better balance. I wasn't doing any recaps. I just moved. This is my home office, which you'll be seeing me change this quite a bit to make it a little bit nicer looking, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But I've been moving a lot, so I haven't been doing as many of these, but I like doing these reviews. Now, with Kate. So now Kate obviously got the W, full tie-ins, definitely pushing the tie-in limits, right, on the crispy tie-in. Now, what does Kate need? So Kate wins this show, great physique. I will say Kate has an awesome posing routine. She really takes the light on stage. Like when she's in her posing routine, it is a show. She does a very good job on her posing routine. You don't catch her off angles. You don't catch her breathing through her stomach. You don't catch her not set up in the back pose. She just is very precise, I guess would be a good word, on her posing when she's in the mandatories, when she's in comparisons. And then her routine is very fluid. It's a very nice routine. So that definitely helps her too. She gets some stage presence awards with her look. I mean, she just does a great job with her routine. Now, for her to be more competitive, or I'm sorry, I should keep saying more competitive, for her to be competitive at the Olympics, her first one, she needs to fill out her hamstrings a little bit more. I do think that this level of conditioning for her with her current size is the right approach. If she was more muscular, I would say be fuller, but with how her size is going to be, because we're talking the Olympias in 4 months, she's not going to be able to put on a lot of size between now and then. I do think that this conditioning level is where it should be, because those girls are a lot more muscular, a lot fuller at the top. You're talking Laura Lee, Amy, Jennifer, Maureen. Now, even Ashley makes her look a little bit smaller, right? So, you have some really heavy hitters in terms of how much muscle they have up top. Vanya is going to be up there too, right? So Ariana will probably be up there. So you're going to have some real muscular girls that you need to bring something with. And I do think conditioning is going to be the way that the right route of travel. So similar conditioning like this. Now, it'd be great if she can get a little bit fuller in this upper outer edge of her glute. The density of the glutes is still not there yet. She needs more density, more fullness to the glutes. You see the hamstrings are creating a little bit of separation in there. It means she needs a little bit more development to those hamstrings. There's a little bit of separation down them. So that could be something that she could work on too. So hopefully she can get that a little bit bigger. Her shoulders will also need a little bit more size. When you see her in the front pose, just needs a little bit more size on those shoulders to really have them kind of capped off. So she's got a good roundness to them, or good, I guess I should say good detail to them, but needs more roundness to those shoulders to create more width. And also, it would be nice when we talked about her hamstrings in the back. You see how the hamstrings here, they're a little bit straight. You want to get some roundness to those hamstrings. When we look back at Reyna here, you see how she's got some really good roundness to her hamstrings? You want to have that roundness to your hamstrings, to have that fullness. This is a little bit straight on the hamstring. So just a little bit more. Basically, Kate will be an awesome competitor. She needs like just 5% more Kate and maybe like 8% more in the glutes. And then she's like top 10 type of girl, top 15 type of girl. Like she's a very good structural competitor. And that's where she went. She wins off her aesthetics, her structure, her balance is great, her posing routine is great, conditioning was spot on. So that is where her next couple years of evolution will come in when she starts fully filling out her physique. Now, we already went into Ashley's physique. I just want to go into, I just really liked this fullness of Ashley. I think if you look at this level of fullness and you look at the Olympia, and I think that if everything goes right, we'll be able to bring a similar level of fullness to the Olympia. But man, this is getting to be a, right there with the girls that are muscular. And that's always been the thing from Ashley. Has always been, hey, just get a little bit more size. This year, we haven't had any feedback about size. So I'll go over our feedback with you this year so far. So the first show, Girl Power, Sandy was a head judge. She said, just get a little bit tighter for the next shows and you'll be fine. I totally agree with it. She said, don't change anything else, right? So I was like, great, okay, I agree with that. Second show, don't change anything at all. Even into the Olympia was the feedback. Third show was, I think I'm going in the right order. Was Pittsburgh, or was it second show? With Pittsburgh, Tyler said, don't change anything. I know it was a 1-point decision. I know you probably want to think that there's a lot to change, but just don't change anything. This is the look we want to see at the Olympia. It could have went either way. It was that close. Fourth show, which would have been, was that Denver? 5, 6, no. Nevada State, sorry. Nevada State, Sandy says, don't change anything. You look awesome. Like, seriously, don't change anything. Bring this package to the Olympia. Fifth show, Kelly, the head judge. Kelly, I got to give him credit. I wanted to go and do the bikini review for the Mile High. The pictures didn't come out as great for great reviews, so it didn't have the detail that I wanted to see for those pictures, unfortunately. So I didn't do that because it just didn't show the athletes the way they think they needed to. But Kelly, awesome judge. I got to give him props. I mean, great judge. He said, don't change anything. Honestly, he goes, you're so good for the Olympia. It could be your year looking just like this. You don't need more size. You don't need anything else. And the problem is, if you try to change too much, then you could get worse. You try to shoot for that 5% better, you end up 10% worse because it wasn't the best look on you. So that's what we're trying to play with this year. And I think, thank you, Kelly, for that advice. If you can get in front of Kelly, highly recommend getting in front of him, getting some feedback from him. He sits behind the shows, after the shows, and gives everyone feedback and doesn't care how long it takes. He doesn't rush through anything, whether you're NPC or IFBB. He just took the time to just give everyone great feedback. He said, don't change, if you change something, you might make it worse, and that's something that people need to take into account, because that happens. You see that happen with bodybuilding sometimes, where someone tries to change too much and they get worse. So definitely good feedback there. And then on the sixth show, Richard, he said, just push the fullness a little too much. If you push the fullness too much, you can end up looking watery, and that was the feedback there. But obviously it's skewed because of the competitors that were there as well. So it's situational, and that's going to be how bikini is. And you guys, you got to have to be mentally tough if you want to do bikini. And this happens at every show, every national show. You'll see different classes, and there'll be a kind of a smaller class and a bigger class, and girls are like, it doesn't make any sense. They went for conditioning on that class, and they went for fullness on that class. And I'm like, they just pick based on who's there. It's always just picked on who's there and who they have to pick from. And that's bikini, guys. You're going to have to be mentally tough. You're going to have wins. Even someone like Ashley, you're going to have a bunch of wins. You're going to have a loss here and there. You're going to have some losses that are kind of strange, So that's bikini. So anyway, we got a good show going on this weekend, which I'm going to go into and review. But it is Sandy's show, Junior Nationals, right? It has a live stream, so if you guys can tune in for that live stream. There's also a pro show right after that. But the cool thing about this pro show is that the amateurs who get their pro cards, they can compete the next day as pros. It's the first time in the U.S. that's happened, so make sure to tune in, because who knows, someone might walk in an amateur and walk out an Olympian at the end of that show. So I'll be reviewing that show too. That's going to be really, really fun. Really love seeing Sandy go after it and be a promoter for that too. It's just an awesome thing. I think Who doesn't love Sandy, right? She gives the best feedback. She works her ass off at every show. She's traveling all the time. Gets back to me same day if I have a question about anything. Helps me, guides me with my competitors, and has really helped train my eye. So thank you, Sandy, for that. So show her some love at the show. She's probably the best ambassador of the sport there's ever been, honestly. And so anyway, tune in for that one, and I'll be doing a review on that one next week. But yeah, leave your comments and questions in the comment section, I guess, below. Congratulations to Kate and her husband. Really happy for you guys. We'll see you in Vegas, and I'll see you guys next time. As always, worldwide contest prep online at teamelitephysique.com with me, and I'll talk to you guys later.